Hey, you found a safe space. Welcome to my channel, where real stories and relaxing Minecraft worlds help calm your mind. Whether it's escaping stress, finding comfort at night, or just needing a friendly voice to keep you company, you belong here. Grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let stories from the internet ease your worries and help you unwind. Subscribe and join us on this journey, because everyone deserves a little peace.
Have you ever been so focused on your phone that you completely lost track of where you were going? Well, today's story is about what happens when that lack of awareness leads to an unexpected collision and an even more unexpected confrontation. Let's dive in. So this happened at work as I was walking out for the day. The main walkway that leads from one area to another is long and narrow, about 4 feet wide. Enough room for 2 people to pass each other without issue, but it's still pretty tight. There's equipment on both sides, so there's really nowhere to step aside into. Think of a really narrow supermarket aisle with just enough room for 2 people to squeeze by. Now, I'm a big guy, tall, broad, and a bit overweight. Because of this, I'm constantly aware of my surroundings. I know I can easily get in people's way, so I always try to be mindful of my presence and where I'm standing. On this particular day, I'm walking down this long, narrow walkway, and I'm whistling a jaunty tune because honestly, I'm just happy to be leaving work. Who isn't, right? As I'm walking, I spot a coworker in the distance walking toward me. Her face is completely buried in her phone. She's walking right down the middle of the aisle with absolutely no sense of what's going on around her. I'm whistling pretty loudly, so I figure she'll hear me coming. But no, she just keeps walking, eyes glued to her screen. We're getting closer now. She still hasn't looked up. At the very last second, I say, "Excuse me," but she's completely oblivious. She walks right into me. Now, being the large guy that I am, and her being rather small, the impact jars her sideways and she drops her phone. It clatters to the ground. I'm about to apologize, not that I really did anything wrong, and ask if she's okay. But before I can even get a word out, she picks up her phone, glares at me, and snaps, "What the fuck? My phone better not be broken." Well, so much for apologizing. I look at her and say, "Well, if your face wasn't buried in it, you would have heard me and saw my fat ass coming straight at you. Try paying attention next time." Then I just went right back to whistling my jaunty leaving work tune and walked away as she spewed a string of profanities at my back, including call me an asshole. I'm not worried about anything happening at work over it. Maybe some rumors will spread, whatever. I just wanted to know if I'm the asshole for being a big guy who actually pays attention to his surroundings. So what's the takeaway here? This story really highlights how important situational awareness is. We're all glued to our phones these days, but when you're walking through shared spaces, you need to be present. This person walked into someone else and immediately went on the defensive instead of taking any responsibility. And honestly, when someone comes at you with hostility after they messed up, it's hard to keep your cool. Could this have been handled more diplomatically? Maybe. But the frustration was completely understandable. At the end of the day, a little awareness and accountability go a long way. Put the phone down, watch where you're going, and if you do mess up, own it. Stay aware out there, folks. Imagine planning a birthday party 6 months in advance. You've got a theme, you've saved up for equipment, you've invited all your friends. Now imagine someone showing up and slowly taking over your entire party. This story is about boundaries, respect, and what happens when someone decides your celebration is actually theirs. Buckle up for this one. So I had my birthday party about 2 weeks after my actual birthday. The delay was because of the seasonal work I do. I wanted to make sure it was finished in time for the party, which I had planned 6 months in advance. I'd put so much thought into it. It was 70s themed, I had a specific playlist ready, and I'd even saved up to buy a really nice speaker for the occasion, JBL 320, that cost me $100. I was really proud of it. Now, one of my partner's best friends, let's call him Peter, his birthday happened to fall on the same night of my party. I didn't know this until just a few days before, but I figured it wouldn't be a problem. We could celebrate both, right? Peter arrived about 2 hours late to the party. When he got there, I approached him to say happy birthday and gave him a hug. We're usually friendly with each other, so I was pretty shocked when I was met with a bad attitude. But whatever, I thought. Maybe he's just having an off night. I continued having fun with my friends. An hour passed, and then Peter went out to his car. He came back carrying this massive speaker, a $1,100 sound box, that completely overpowers mine. And he places it right in the center of the party and starts blasting his own music. I immediately asked my partner to please tell him to turn it off. This was my 70s themed party, and I had a specific playlist going for earlier in the night. Peter turned his music off, but then he made a comment that no one liked the music I was playing, that the vibes were terrible, and that one of my close friends had actually told him to get his speaker. That wasn't true, by the way. What actually happened was Peter had asked too if the old people had left yet, and then he went and grabbed his speaker on his own. But here's what really hurt. My partner made this sly comment right in front of me, saying, "Don't worry, Peter, the speaker will be dead in 10 minutes anyways." That really upset me. I'd saved up for that speaker specifically for this party. I was proud of it, and my partner just dismissed it like it was nothing. Around 20 minutes later, Peter decided to grab his speaker again. He gathered a bunch of the guys, and they all headed over to another spot where they started playing his music at full volume, completely overpowering my speaker once again. I told my partner, "Please shut this down." And he did. Fast forward another 10 minutes. My speaker suddenly changes music. I go over to where it is to reconnect to it, and Peter and one of our other friends come inside and sit down beside me, both on their phones. Peter's on Spotify, and my phone disconnects again. So I snatched his phone out of his hands. He says to me all smartly, "I'm not even connected." And then our friend beside him throws his phone into Peter's lap and yells, "You told me to connect." That was it. I blew up. I told Peter to get the hell out of my house, and that if he wasn't being such a, well, let's just say I used a strong word, then he would have been involved in the cake cutting. He left. Now my partner is embarrassed because of how I reacted. He says he's not taking sides in this. But here's the part I actually feel bad about. I couldn't help but feel like he wasn't being truthful with me. Peter had sent him a message, and I read it. It said, "I don't know what her fucking problem is. This is bullshit." And my partner's response? "Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what her deal is." Okay, let's break this down. First, let's talk about boundaries. This was her birthday party. She planned it 6 months in advance. She had a theme, a playlist, and she'd saved up for equipment she was proud of. Peter showed up late, with a bad attitude, and then proceeded to hijack the entire event. Not once, not twice, but multiple times, after being asked to stop. That's not just disrespectful, it's deliberate. He wasn't clueless. He knew what he was doing. Now the blow-up. Did she lose her temper? Yes. Could it have been handled more calmly? Maybe. But when someone repeatedly disrespects you at your own party, in your own home, after multiple attempts to set boundaries, that frustration is valid. Sometimes people push you to a breaking point and then act shocked when you finally snap. But here's the real issue: the partner. He made dismissive comments about her speaker. He said he wasn't taking sides, and then behind her back, he sided with Peter. That's not neutrality. That's taking a side and lying about it. When someone you love is being disrespected, not taking sides isn't an option. Silence is a choice, and in this case, it was the wrong one. The lesson here: respect people's boundaries. Stand up for the people you care about. And if you're hosting something you've put your heart into, you have every right to protect that space, even if it means kicking someone out. Your party, your rules. Don't let anyone make you feel bad for enforcing them. What would you do if a teacher refused to honor your legally protected accommodations? This story comes from the Malicious Compliance subreddit, and it's about a student who found a creative way to deal with an ableist professor who thought he knew better than the ADA. This one's a classic case of follow the rules, technically. Let's get into it. To understand this story, I need to tell you a little about my disabilities. I have Tourette syndrome and ADHD, which makes learning a bit challenging, but I was homeschooled by a professional teacher growing up, so I got all the accommodations I needed without any issues. One thing I really struggle with is writing by hand. I don't know why, but it literally hurts. My mom used to say that the pencil was my biggest enemy in learning. My hand cramps up hardcore if I start writing, and my handwriting gets larger and messier as I go. As far as I know, I'm holding the pencil correctly, so I honestly don't understand why this happens. But here's the real problem. I concentrate so hard on the physical act of writing that I miss literally everything else. Things that aren't on the projector, gone. Entire slides, missed. Because my writing is so slow and painful, take notes becomes this all-consuming task that makes me miss the actual lesson. That's what accommodations are for, right? So for college, my learning accommodations were pretty straightforward. A.5 for private testing, though they usually gave me double type, bless them, ability to record lectures, and a note taker. In college, I never had any issues. I was able to concentrate on the lesson because I'm more of a visual learner, and I'd get notes to study afterward. It worked perfectly until I hit American history. The teacher was this smug, God's gift to teaching type of guy. To be fair, he was born for it. He had the exact same name as a certain Confederate general, and he was an amazing lecturer. He assigned me as TA as a note taker, and they'd copy the notes for me after each class. After a couple of weeks, though, he noticed something. I wasn't attempting to take notes myself, and he got upset. He claimed that the only possible way to learn was to physically write down notes, and if I didn't, he'd refuse to give me any future notes. I was absolutely gobsmacked. I tried to explain that my learning style was different. I needed to listen to him and pay attention to the board, otherwise I'd miss slides or important information that wasn't written down. I was an A student of the Dean's List every single semester. That should have been proof enough that I knew how to learn. But nope, it wasn't. So I told him I'd make a compromise. I'd never needed to record any of my other classes, but I'd bring in a tape recorder. He was happy with that agreement and continued to give me the notes. And this is where the malicious compliance starts. I did bring in that tape recorder, every single class. But here's the thing, I never once listened to it. I'd let the tape run, and it would fill up about 3/4 of the way through class. Then I wouldn't flip it over. The following week, I'd flip the microcassette to the other side and record 3/4 of that lecture. Then the next week, I'd flip it back over and record right over week 1's partial lecture. Back and forth, over and over, erasing and re-recording on the same tape, week after week. It was just enough to get him off my back. Looking back, I really should have reported him. Refusing to give me notes was a direct violation of my ADA rights, and he could have gotten in serious trouble for it. But I was a stupid kid. I told my disabilities counselor about it, but I never escalated because I'd come up with my simple, malicious compliance solution. I ended up enjoying the class overall. Like I said, he was a great lecturer, just a terrible person for being ableist. First, it's a reminder that educated people, professors, teachers, people in positions of authority, can be ignorant about disabilities and accommodations. Just because someone is smart in their field doesn't mean they understand how different brains work. Second, this highlights a bigger issue, ableism in education. The idea that there's only one correct way to learn is outdated and harmful. Some people learn by writing, some by listening, some by doing. Accommodations exist because not everyone's brain works the same way, and that's okay. But here's the thing. While this person's malicious compliance was clever and harmless, they were absolutely right that they should have escalated. Accommodations aren't suggestions. They're legal protections. When someone in power violates those rights, it's not just about one student. It sets a precedent that could harm others. The takeaway? Stand up for your rights. Advocate for yourself. And if you're in a position of authority, remember, your way isn't the only way. Listen to people when they tell you what they need. Stay strong out there, and don't let anyone make you feel less than for learning differently. How would you feel if your family decided to move someone into your bedroom without really asking your opinion? This story is about a 17-year-old who's being asked to give up her privacy for her sister's boyfriend. It's a story about boundaries, fairness, and what happens when family decisions leave someone out of the conversation. Let's get into it. I'll try to keep this short. I'm 17 and I live with my mom and my older sister who's 19. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment, so my sister and I share a bedroom. My sister has been dating her boyfriend for almost a year now. He's all 19. Honestly, I genuinely like him. I have no issue with him at all. He's nice to me and my mom, and he treats my sister really well. So this isn't about him as a person. About a month ago, my sister asked my mom if her boyfriend could move in with us. He lives in a different state and would be moved here to escape his toxic family situation and to go to college. My mom agreed as long as between the two of them, my sister and her boyfriend, they pay a certain amount each month for rent. And this is where the problems start. At first, my sister agreed to move into the living room with her boyfriend. The plan was they'd get dividers and set up their space in half of the large living room. I was completely okay with this because honestly, it's extremely uncomfortable for me. 17-year-old to have to share a room with my sister and a boyfriend. I also feel like I shouldn't have to give up my living space for something I didn't get a say in. But after deciding he was moving here, my sister changed her mind. She now says it'll be okay if we all share the bedroom. I told her I don't feel comfortable with that. We argued about it, and she won't budge. My mom has offered solutions. She said she'd move her own bedroom into the living room, as long as my sister and her boyfriend pay for the things she'd need to set up her living space out there. About $400 worth of transportable closets and dividers. But my sister argued that this isn't fair either, because they're already paying about $250 each per month for rent. So now we're at a standstill. My sister isn't budging on leaving the room, and neither am I. I get that she's paying rent, so she kind of has a right to the room. But I feel like I also have a right to the room as a minor who doesn't really have a say in my living situation. They could easily move out if they wanted to. I can't. So am I the asshole for wanting my room? Or am I just being a brat? I should mention, I know I just posted this, but I wanted to clarify a couple things. My mom is looking for a bigger place to rent, and I know her boyfriend would never do anything to me. But I still don't want to share a room with him, even if it's just for a couple of months. Even just 1 or 2. Our room is super small. My sister and I practically sleep mattress to mattress as it is. Let's talk about what's really going on here. First of all, no, she's not being a brat. This is a 17-year-old who's being asked to share a tiny bedroom with her adult sister and her sister's adult boyfriend. That's not appropriate, period. This isn't about whether the boyfriend is a good guy or whether she trusts him. It's about privacy, boundaries, and basic human dignity. Teenagers need their own space. Sharing a room with your sibling is one thing. Sharing it with your sibling and their romantic partner, that's a completely different situation. Here's the issue. When adults make decisions that affect kids, those kids deserve to have a voice. She didn't ask for this, she didn't agree to this, and she shouldn't have to sacrifice her comfort and privacy because her sister changed her mind about the original plan. The sister's argument that we're already paying rent doesn't hold water. Yes, they're contributing financially, but so is the mom, who offered to give up her own bedroom to solve this. And the sister shot that down too because she didn't want to pay for the setup costs. So let me get this straight. The sister wants the bedroom, doesn't want to pay extra for dividers and closets, and expects her teenage sibling to just deal with it? That's not fair, that's entitlement. The real lesson here is about communication and respect. When family dynamics change, when new people move in, when spaces get rearranged, everyone affected needs to be part of the conversation. No, just the adults, it's just the people paying rent. Everyone. And sometimes the right answer is uncomfortable. Maybe the boyfriend needs to find a different living situation. Maybe the sister and boyfriend need to contribute more financially to make a proper setup work. But forcing a minor to give up their privacy, that's not the solution. Stand your ground. You deserve your space. Have you ever wondered what happened to the person who made your life miserable in school? This story is about a victory that might seem petty at the surface, but it's really about something much deeper. Resilience, self-belief, and proving that you don't need validation from the people who never believed in you. This one's a journey, so settle in. Let's get into it. I just went through a bit of a win in life, but since it might come off as petty, sharing it with strangers feels like the best way to celebrate. I had quite a terrible upbringing. Multiple forms of abuse, a toxic family who emotionally bullied me and made me the scapegoat for their own dysfunction. Maybe because of what I endured at home and being isolated from other children, I became very awkward. I'd innocently kissed a girl when I was under 5 years old and somehow ended up shunned from other kids when there were already none in my family to begin with. I learned to read to entertain myself. I was given hand-me-down Game Boys and consoles to keep me occupied. And because of that, I was bullied for being smart and having weird hobbies like reading books of mythology and playing video games. When my teachers tried to move me up a grade, my parents blocked it. They said it would make me more different. So I stayed, and the bullying continued. All the girls in my class manipulated me into believing they were my friends, when really, all they did was belittle me and take advantage of me. I wanted so badly to belong and be loved that I blindly gave them everything. I convinced myself that's what friendship was. This went on until I found the weird kids clique in high school. But it only truly stopped when I was in my second year of university. Why? Because one of the main girls, Queen Bee, who made sure everyone thought of me as lesser, chose the same university and degree as me. Then she dropped out and changed universities in the second year, finally allowing me to be free. But here's the thing. By then, my dad had developed a gambling addiction and put us in insurmountable debt. I had to kick him out of the house when I was 16 because all he did was take advantage of my abusive mother's undying love for him. I had to work and get an allowance from my grandmother, who was also in debt after my dad illegally took out a loan in her name, just to scrape by. And here's where the win starts. I always dreamed of moving to Asia since I was a little girl. I was fascinated by the cultures, the climates, the sense of community versus the individualism that had caused me so much pain. After graduation, I knew that dream was way out of reach because of my financial situation. But my non-biological grandfather had put aside €20 from his retirement for each month I was in university to give me as a graduation gift. I took that, combined it with the little savings I had, and moved to one of Europe's tech scene cities with €1,000 to my name, one suitcase, a one-way ticket, an Airbnb for 1 week, and one final in-person job interview. I spent 10 years in Germany. I went through a lot of hard stuff, including going no contact with my entire family. I built myself up to a successful career in integration work. I made the most amazing family of friends who accepted me for who I am, quirks and all. I met my partner and we got married. After those 10 years, right before I turned 30, I moved to Asia, to a city that embraced me and where I immediately felt at home. That fear and those feelings of being wrong that I felt when I first moved to Germany, they never came this time. Now for the prideful moment, that queen bee, she was rich, she had an affluent family and everything handed to her. She always lived off that perfect girl image her entire life. My first laugh came when her high school sweetheart turned out to be a drug dealer in our hometown, but now she keeps posting on social media about how she was so brave and moved to the capital of a neighboring country. How at 30 she felt tied down and decided to move to Australia as her long-lost dream. She made a whole show of passing an English test, getting her visa approved somehow after the application dates were closed, and how she left her home and fled to Australia with a half-empty suitcase. And she's been going on with this whole look how strong and amazing and brave I am to do this routine, with all those same cheerleaders from high school clapping about how she achieved the impossible. The same people who used to talk so much crap and snitch out all his secrets behind her back. Also, she's been single since high school. At first, I felt a bit annoyed, but then it hit me. I moved to a country where I didn't even speak the language. I moved without parents to financially support me. I moved again to chase my dreams with no way back. I found a husband and I'm building a family, something I never imagined would happen to me. And I didn't need people to tell me how brave I was. I didn't need them to tell me they believed in me. Despite having all the cards stacked against me, I did it for myself. I believed in myself, and I got there by myself. So now, whenever I see her posts, I laugh, and I think about how empty her life is compared to mine. I found love, both romantic and in friendships, with people I know I can truly trust and rely on, and I tell myself that I won over the people who make me miserable their way of feeling good about themselves. And I did that without having to resort to such selfish ways, apart from this little rant I just indulged in. Living well is the best revenge. Narration script, intro hook. Have you ever wondered what happened to the person who made your life miserable in school? Today's story is about a victory that might seem petty at the surface, but it's really about something much deeper. Resilience, self-belief, and proving that you don't need validation from the people who never believed in you. This one's a journey, so settle in. Let's get into it. Main story. I just went through a bit of a win in life. But since it might come off as petty, sharing it with strangers feels like the best way to celebrate. I had quite a terrible upbringing. Multiple forms of abuse, a toxic family who emotionally bullied me and made me the scapegoat for their own dysfunction. Maybe because of what I endured at home and being isolated from other children, I became very awkward. I'd innocently kissed a girl when I was under 5 years old and somehow ended up shunned from other kids when there were already none in my family to begin with. I learned to read to entertain myself. I was given hand-me-down Game Boys and consoles to keep me occupied. And because of that, I was bullied for being smart and having weird hobbies like reading books of mythology and playing video games. When my teachers tried to move me up a grade, my parents blocked it. They said it would make me even more different. So I stayed, and the bullying continued. All the girls in my class manipulated me into believing they were my friends when really, all they did was belittle me and take advantage of me. I wanted so badly to belong and be loved that I blindly gave them everything. I convinced myself that's what friendship was. This went on until I found the weird kids clique in high school, but it only truly stopped when I was in my second year of university. Why? Because one of the main girls, Queen Bee, who made sure everyone thought of me as lesser, chose the same university and degree as me. Then she dropped out and changed universities in the second year, finally allowing me to be free. But here's the thing. By then, my dad had developed a gambling addiction and put us in insurmountable debt. I had to kick him out of the house when I was 16 because all he did was take advantage of my abusive mother's undying love for him. I had to work and get an allowance from my grandmother, who was also in debt after my dad illegally took out a loan in her name just to scrape by. And here's where the win starts. I always dreamed of moving to Asia since I was a little girl. I was fascinated by the cultures, the climates, the sense of community versus the individualism that had caused me so much pain. After graduation, I knew that dream was way out of reach because of my financial situation. But my non-biological grandfather had put aside 20 euros from his retirement for each month I was in university to give me as a graduation gift. I took that, combined it with the little savings I had, and moved to one of Europe's tech scene cities with 1,000 euros to my name, one suitcase, a one-way ticket, an Airbnb for 1 week, and one final in-person job interview. I spent 10 years in Germany. I went through a lot of hard stuff, including going no contact with my entire family. I built myself up to a successful career in integration work. I made the most amazing family of friends who accepted me for who I am, quirks and all. I met my partner and we got married. After those 10 years, right before I turned 30, I moved to Asia, to a city that embraced me and where I immediately felt at home. That fear and those feelings of being wrong that I felt when I first moved to Germany, they never came this tide. Now for the prideful moment. That Queen Bee, she was rich. She had an affluent family and everything handed to her. She always lived off that perfect girl image her entire life. My first laugh came when her high school sweetheart turned out to be a drug dealer in our hometown. But now, she keeps posting on social media about how she was so brave and moved to the capital of a neighboring country, how at 30 she felt tied down and decided to move to Australia as her long-lost dream. She made a whole show of passing an English test, getting her visa approved somehow after the application dates were closed, and how she left her home and fled to Australia with a half-empty suitcase. And she's been going on with this whole, look how strong and amazing and brave I am to do this routine, with all those same cheerleaders from high school clapping about how she achieved the impossible, the same people who used to talk so much crap and snitch out all her secrets behind her back. Also, she's been single since high school. At first I felt a bit annoyed, but then it hit me. I moved to a country where I didn't even speak the language. I moved without parents to financially support me. I moved again to chase my dreams, with no way back. I found a husband and I'm building a family, something I never imagined would happen to me. And I didn't need people to tell me how brave I was. I didn't need them to tell me they believed in me. Despite having all the cards stacked against me, I did it for myself. I believed in myself, and I got there by myself. So now, whenever I see her posts, I laugh, and I think about how empty her life is compared to mine. I found love, both romantic and in friendships, with people I know I can truly trust and rely on, and I tell myself that I won over the people who make me miserable their way of feeling good about themselves. And I did that without having to resort to such selfish ways, apart from this little rant I just indulged in. Outro reflection. So what's the real story here? This isn't about schadenfreude or taking pleasure in someone else's struggles. It's about perspective. It's about realizing that the people who once seemed so powerful, so untouchable, so perfect, they're just people. Often deeply insecure people who tear others down to feel better about themselves. This person escaped abuse, poverty, and isolation. She moved to a foreign country with barely any money and no safety net. She learned a new language, built a career, found real love and real friendship. She chased her childhood dream and actually caught it. And she did all of that without needing to broadcast it for validation. The Queen Bee, on the other hand, she had every advantage. Money, family support, social status. And she's still seeking validation from the same people who never truly cared about her. She's performing bravery instead of living it. Here's the lesson. Living well truly is the best revenge. Not because you're trying to make someone jealous, but because when you focus on building a life you're proud of, the opinions of people who hurt you just stop mattering. If you're being bullied, if you're going through hell right now, know this. Your resilience is building something they'll never have. Authenticity, strength, self-belief. One day, you'll look back and realize you won. Not because they lost, but because you built something real. Keep going. You're stronger than you know. Every parent's worst nightmare is something happening to their child. This story takes us back 26 years to an ordinary morning at Target that turned into something terrifying. It's a reminder that sometimes trusting your instincts can mean the difference between safety and disaster. Let's get into it. This happened 26 years ago. I took my 3-year-old daughter to Target in Virginia because she was sick and the hospital had run out of the medication she needed. They were waiting for supplies to come in. It was a military hospital and it was winter during flu and pneumonia season, so everything was running low. I put her in the shopping cart and headed straight to the pharmacy area to look for the meds she needed. While I was scanning the shelves, my body was slightly turned, but I kept my left hand holding my daughter's hand and the cart at the same time. That's when I noticed her. This woman was standing at the end of the aisle, just lurking, staring at us. At one point, I asked her what she wanted and why she was just staring at us. She didn't say anything. She just turned around and left the aisle. So I went back to looking for what I needed, still holding my daughter's hand and the cart. Just as I reached out to grab the 2 medications I needed, I felt this tug on my daughter. I dropped the boxes of meds and turned around immediately. That woman had come back into the aisle behind us. She was trying to grab my child out of the cart. And she kept saying, "Your daughter is so adorable. I just want her." I balled up my right fist and threw a punch straight at her face. I was yelling at her, screaming. Mind you, this was early in the morning on a weekday, so the store wasn't crowded yet. The pharmacist and the pharmacy techs came running over. Apparently, someone had notified the store manager and security when they heard me screaming. Security asked what was going on, and I told them that woman was trying to steal my daughter. They immediately put the store in lockdown and called the cops. When the police showed up, I told them I was pressing charges. She tried to tell the cops she wanted to press charges on me for assault. I told her to bring it on because I was defending my daughter from being kidnapped. They arrested her. She went before a judge and it was revealed that we weren't the first people she'd done this to. She'd done it 3 other times. She was sentenced to 5 years in jail with 3 years of probation. The judge dismissed the case against me for assault, ruling it was self-defense of my minor child. Let's talk about what really happened here. This mother did everything right. She kept physical contact with her child, she noticed suspicious behavior, she confronted it, and when someone literally tried to take her daughter, she acted without hesitation. That instinct, that immediate protective response, that's not something to second guess. That's your body and mind recognizing danger and responding to protect someone you love. And here's the chilling part. This wasn't the woman's first attempt. She'd done this 3 other times. 3 other families had been targeted by this person. That means there were likely other times she was lurking, watching, waiting for the right moment. This story is a reminder that predators count on hesitation. They count on politeness. They count on people not wanting to make a scene or seem paranoid. This mother trusted her gut when the woman was staring, confronted her, and then acted decisively when the threat became real. The fact that this woman tried to press charges for assault after attempting to kidnap a child shows the audacity and manipulation tactics these people use. They try to flip the script, play the victim, gaslight their way out of consequences. But justice prevailed. 5 years in prison, 3 years probation. And a clear message from the judge, protecting your child is not a crime. So what's the lesson? Trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't worry about being rude or causing a scene. Your child's safety is more important than a stranger's feelings. Keep physical contact in public spaces. Stay aware. And if the worst happens, do what you need to do. This mother didn't hesitate. And because of that, her daughter came home safe. Stay vigilant out there. Trust yourself. And protect what matters most. Have you ever been blamed for something you had absolutely no control over? This story is about a college student working a chill security job who suddenly found himself caught in the middle of someone else's scam. It's a tale of workplace deception, accountability, and why you should never let someone use you as their alibi. Let's get into it. I was working a security job while finishing my degree. It was an easy gig with a ton of downtime, and my boss didn't care what we did as long as we showed up, stayed aware of what was going on, and replied to alarms when they went off. It was chill, and I got a lot of my assignments, lab reports, and research papers done during shifts. One day, we get a new hire, and I could tell immediately that he wasn't going to last long. He would complain about how we had to check alarms, that he was bored, stuff like that. He also asked me if our boss was always around. I told him after 5 p.m. he leaves. Unless something drastic happens, I don't see him coming in. I thought nothing of it. After the last full-time employee left for the day, I'd start doing my homework once I finished all my work and made sure my rounds were completed, all while keeping an eye on the cameras and alarms. And where were you saying that live? One day, the new guy and I are at work, and he says, "Hey, I talked to our boss, and he said it was cool for me to leave." I said, "Okay, thanks for letting me know," and he left. Again, I thought nothing of it. When the third shift people came in, they asked me what happened to the new guy. I told them what he told me. "Oh, interesting," they said. This went on for a few months until the account manager came in. The account manager showed up like a bat out of hell. I got pulled into a room and got asked, where was the new guy? I told the account manager. He told me he talked to our boss and said that he could leave early. The account manager snapped, "And you just let him leave?" I said, "I'm not our boss. He told me he talked to our boss, and our boss gave him the okay to leave. I can't physically stop anyone from leaving. That's outside my job responsibilities." I told the account manager I had to use the bathroom, and while I was in there, I texted the new guy. "Dude, I don't know where you are, but the account manager is looking through the keycard system and watching the cameras looking for you." Not in 30 seconds after I hit send, he called me in a panic. "Oh my God. Tell him I'm in the bathroom." I laughed and said, a reminder, he's rewinding the cameras and badge swipes to see what time you came in and left." After the account manager got what he wanted, he chastised me for not stopping the new guy from leaving. He said I should have discouraged him and tried to warn him that if he's going to leave, he needs to clock out, and that the new guy was stealing from the company. I told the account manager, again, if someone tells me they talked to our boss and our boss gave the okay, that's between them, not me. The account manager left after that. A few days later, I get a call to come in early for a meet with my boss. I got asked the same questions I got from the account manager. I told them the same thing I told the account manager. Then I found out this gem. My boss said, "The new guy said that you gave him the okay to leave early." Also, he was sued for stealing from the company. A few months later, I graduated from college and never looked back. I was asked to come back and stay, but when I told them my salary at my new job, they told me, "We can't pay you that much." I wished them well. So what can we learn from this story? First, let's talk about trust and boundaries in the workplace. This person handled the situation exactly right. He wasn't the new guy's supervisor. He wasn't responsible for enforcing company policy. When someone tells you they have permission from the boss, you don't have the authority to question that, especially when you're peers, not their manager. But here's where things get shady. The new guy was running a scam. He was lying to everyone, telling his coworker that the boss approved it, then later throwing that same coworker under the bus by saying he gave permission. That's manipulation, plain and simple. He was trying to create confusion and shift blame to avoid accountability. The account manager's initial reaction shows a common workplace problem, blaming the wrong person. Instead of going after the person actually stealing time from the company, he tried to make it the coworker's responsibility to police someone else's behavior. That's not how it works. You can't expect employees to enforce rules they have no authority to enforce. The real turning point came when the truth came out. The new guy got fired, got sued for theft, and our narrator got a formal apology. Justice served. And that ending? Chef's kiss. He graduated, moved on to a better paying job, and when the company asked him to stay, he told them his new salary, and they couldn't match it. That's the ultimate "I told you so" moment. They realized too late that they had a good, honest employee, and now he's gone. The lesson here? Stay in your lane. Don't take responsibility for things that aren't your job. Document everything. And when someone tries to use you as their scapegoat, stand firm in the truth. Honesty and boundaries will always win in the end.